There is something you have been holding that was never meant to be held alone. Not for a day, not for a week, certainly not for the length of time you have been gripping it. You have carried it through the ordinary hours of ordinary days, through the mornings that arrived without warmth, through the evenings that settled in without relief. You have carried it into rooms full of people and smiled in a way that asked no one to notice. You have carried it into your bed at night and felt its weight press down even as your body tried to rest. And still, you have carried it. Still, you have kept moving. Still, you have shown up. I want you to stop for a moment. Not in defeat. Not in surrender to the pressure. But in the way that a person stops when someone who loves them places a hand on their shoulder and says, quietly, I see you. I see what you have been carrying. I see how long you have been walking with it. And I am here. That is what I am saying to you right now. Not from a distance. Not from a height too elevated to understand what the weight of your particular burden actually feels like in the body of a person who has been carrying it this long. I am saying it from close. Close enough to know the details. Close enough to have seen the private moments when the composure cracked. Close enough to have heard every word you have said to yourself in the quiet of your own interior. The harsh ones and the hopeful ones, the prayers that came out clean and the ones that came out broken. You are not invisible to me. Your situation is not too complicated for me to understand. Your pain is not too specific to warrant my attention. Every dimension of what you have been living through is known to me, and knowing it, I have not moved away. I have moved closer. That is the nature of the love I carry for you. It does not retreat when things become difficult. It does not recalibrate its warmth based on how much difficulty you are currently holding. It remains constant, undiminished, reaching. So before we go further, I want you to do something. I want you to set down, just for these next moments, the need to resolve everything. The need to figure it all out before you allow yourself to breathe. The need to have the answer before you permit yourself the relief of feeling held. You do not have to solve it to be supported. You do not have to have it together to be covered. You do not have to arrive at the end of the story before I step into the middle of it. I am already in the middle. I have been here the entire time. There is a lie that quiet, strong people carry in them like a splinter too deep to see. It is the lie that says, if you need help, you have failed. That the measure of your worth is the length of time you can endure without cracking. That resilience means feeling nothing, admitting nothing, asking for nothing. That to be strong is to be unreachable, to be capable is to be sufficient, to be faithful is to be unflinching. I want to address that lie directly because it has done tremendous damage in you. It has convinced you that the appropriate response to your own suffering is to produce more endurance. To tighten the grip. To find a deeper reservoir of self-sufficiency and draw from it until the situation resolves itself. And so you have tightened, and you have drawn, and the reservoir has gone low in a way that frightens you when you allow yourself to look at it honestly. And still the lie tells you the answer is to try harder. But endurance was never meant to be a performance you give to convince the world, or yourself, that you are handling things. Endurance was never meant to be the armor you wear to keep my presence from reaching the parts of you that are genuinely aching. Real endurance is not the absence of need. Real endurance is the willingness to keep your hand in mine even when you are not sure where the road is going. Real endurance is the choice to remain close to me, not because you have manufactured the feeling of trust, but because you have decided that closeness to me is where you want to be regardless of what the feeling says. I do not need you to be strong in the way the world defines strength. I do not need you to project confidence you do not currently feel or speak certainties you have not yet arrived at. What I need from you is not performance. What I need from you is presence. The same willingness to be here, to stay, to keep the conversation open, to let my words work in you even when their working is slow and the results are not yet visible. You have been measuring yourself against a standard I never set for you. Comparing the inside of your experience to the outside of someone else's composure and concluding that you are behind. That something is wrong with you for feeling this deeply. That the appropriate response to what you have been going through was something smaller, something more contained, something that resolved more quickly. But the depth of what you feel is not a flaw. It is a sign that you are fully alive inside a difficult situation. And being fully alive inside a difficult situation is not weakness. It is honesty. And honesty is where healing begins. I need to speak to you about the waiting. Because for many of you, that is the hardest part. Not the onset of the difficulty, as shocking as that was. Not even the depth of the pain, as real as it is. But the length of it. The unresolved days that stack into unresolved weeks. The prayers that have gone up and the answers that have not yet come down in a form you can identify with certainty. The sense that time is moving but the situation is not. That you are doing everything you know to do and still the thing you are waiting for remains just outside your reach. I want to tell you what is happening in that space. Not to give you a timeline, because the timeline belongs to me and it is perfect even when it feels unbearable. But to tell you that the waiting is not empty. The waiting is not the absence of my activity. The waiting is, in many cases, the most concentrated period of my work in you. Think about what happens in the earth before spring arrives. To look at the ground in the coldest weeks of winter, you would not know that anything was happening. The surface is hard. The color is muted. The warmth that was there before has gone somewhere you cannot see. And yet, below the surface, in the dark and in the cold, the roots are extending. The seeds are beginning their invisible process of becoming. The entire infrastructure of the spring that is coming is being laid down in the ground during the season that looks most like nothing is happening. That is where you are. That is what this season is. The surface of your circumstances may look unchanged. The resolution you have been waiting for may not yet be visible. But do not mistake the surface for the whole story. Do not mistake the silence for absence. In the place that is below what you can see and measure and evaluate with your eyes, I am working. I am preparing the ground. I am extending the root system of what I am building in you into depths that will sustain what I am bringing to you, depths that could not have been reached any other way except through exactly this kind of season. And I want to say something about the waiting that I know is difficult to receive, but which I ask you to hold. There are things I am putting in you right now that cannot be manufactured in the easy seasons. There is a quality of trust that only forms in the dark. There is a dimension of peace that only deepens when it is tested. There is a kind of knowing, not the knowing of information but the knowing of actual experience, that I am faithful, that I am present, that I do not abandon, that I keep my word. That knowing cannot be downloaded in a moment of ease. It is forged. And I am forging it in you now, not to make the difficulty longer than it needs to be, but because what I am building in you is worth the quality of foundation it requires. I want to move now from the general to the specific. Because you did not come here looking for principles. You came here carrying something real, something with edges, something that has a particular shape in your particular life. And I want to speak to that. There is a relationship in your life that has caused you pain at a depth you did not know you were capable of feeling. A pain that took you by surprise because you had not understood how much that person, that connection, that belonging meant to you until it was threatened or lost or damaged in a way that changed the landscape of your daily experience. You are walking through a world that looks the same from the outside but feels fundamentally altered from the inside. And the hardest part is that you cannot fully explain it to most people because the wound is in a place too interior, too specific to your own story, to translate cleanly into words that others can receive without effort. I see that wound. I know where it is. I know how it opened and how long it has been open and the particular way it aches not only in the acute moments but in the ordinary ones. When a song comes on, when a specific time of day arrives, when you pass a place that carries a memory, when you catch yourself reaching for a comfort that is no longer available in the form it used to be. I know all of it. And I am telling you, directly and with full knowledge of what I am saying, I am healing it. Not by erasing what happened. Not by pretending the loss was not real or the pain was not legitimate. But by entering into it with you and working from the inside out to restore what was broken and to bring to you, in time, the belonging and the connection and the warmth that your heart was designed to need. There is also a situation related to your material circumstances that has created pressure at a level that affects not just your practical daily life but your sense of security, your sense of being cared for, your sense of the future. Financial strain, or vocational uncertainty, or the weight of a decision that carries significant consequences, or the exhaustion of rebuilding something that collapsed unexpectedly. Something in the external architecture of your life has shifted and you are doing the work of stabilizing what can be stabilized while grieving what cannot be recovered exactly as it was. I am in that situation with you. I am not observing it from outside the difficulty. I am present in it, working within the actual constraints of your actual circumstances, bringing resources and direction and unexpected provision in ways that will not always announce themselves in advance. You will look back and you will see it. You will trace the path and you will recognize my hand in the moments that seemed like coincidence, in the doors that opened when all the others were closed, in the person who arrived at the exact right moment, in the idea that surfaced when you had run out of your own. You will see it. But even now, in the middle before the looking back, I am asking you to trust that I am present in your situation and that my presence is not passive. It is active. It is purposeful. It is moving. Let me speak now about something that the difficult seasons have a way of quietly eroding, your understanding of who you are. Not your name, not your role, not the external identifiers by which the world categorizes you, but the deep interior knowledge of your own value. The settled sense of mattering. The quiet confidence that you are not a mistake, that your presence in the world is not accidental, that there is something in you worth protecting and worth building. Prolonged difficulty has a way of working against that knowledge. It does not always attack it directly. More often it works by accumulation. By presenting you, day after day, with circumstances that seem to contradict your worth. With experiences that whisper, if you mattered, this would not have happened. With silences from people whose affirmation you needed, with rejections that felt like verdicts, with failures critical voice inside you used as evidence for a conclusion you were already afraid was true. And over time, if you are honest, you have perhaps accepted some of those conclusions more than you should have. You have begun to hold yourself with a tentativeness that was not there before. You have moved through certain spaces with a smallness that is not native to who I made you to be. You have apologized for taking up room in situations where you had every right to stand fully present. You have questioned instincts that were sound, doubted gifts that were real, talked yourself out of possibilities because the voice of the difficulty was louder in that moment than the voice of your actual identity. I am here to speak louder. I am here to say, that is not who you are. The version of yourself that the hard season constructed, the smaller, more tentative, more apologetic version, that is not the truth of you. That is the residue of prolonged pressure on a person who was not designed to be defined by pressure. The truth of you is what I placed in you before the difficult season began. Before the losses accumulated. Before the wounds were opened. The truth of you is the person I formed with intention, the person I looked at and called worthy, the person I chose to be in relationship with not because of what you could produce or what you could hold together but because of who you are to me. Walk in that. Walk in the actual dimensions of who you are, not the compressed version the pressure created. Take up the space I gave you. Speak with the voice that is native to your truest self. Make the choices that the undiminished version of you would make. Because that undiminished version is not a past self you are trying to recover. It is the self I am actively restoring. It is the self that is emerging, even now, through the very difficulty that seemed designed to erase it. The pressure is not winning. I am winning. And you are on my side. I want to speak now about what is coming. Not in vague, general terms that feel like comfort without content. But specifically, in the language of actual promise, in the voice of one who has seen the end from the beginning and who is telling you that what is ahead of you is better than what has been pressing against you. There is a season coming in your life when the things that have felt blocked will begin to open. Not all at once, and not without the work that partnering with me always requires. But a season of opening is coming. Of doors that have been closed beginning to yield. Of conversations that needed to happen beginning to happen. Of provision that has felt withheld beginning to flow. Of healing that has been underway beneath the surface beginning to become visible in the texture of your daily experience. There is a peace coming that is different from the peace you have been trying to manufacture through effort and positive thinking and telling yourself it will be fine. A peace that is not dependent on the circumstances having resolved because it comes from a source deeper than circumstances. A peace that will be present in the difficult moments that remain, and some difficult moments will remain because that is the nature of life in a world that is still being restored. But that will be strong enough to hold you in those moments in a way that will itself become a kind of testimony. People will see it in you and will ask where it comes from, and the answer will be a story worth telling. There are relationships coming. Not replacements for what was lost, because the people you have loved are not interchangeable and I am not offering you a substitute. But I am bringing into your life people who will see you clearly. People who will be present in a sustained way. People who will carry something you need and who will need something you carry. Connections that are forged from real recognition rather than the kind of surface compatibility that looks fine but cannot hold weight. The loneliness you have been living with is not your permanent address. Connection is coming. And there is a purpose coming into focus. A sense of why you have been through what you have been through that will not make the difficulty retroactively pleasant but will make it meaningful. The things you have learned in the hard places, the capacities that have been built in you through the pressure, the particular quality of empathy and groundedness and unshockable compassion that only forms in people who have actually walked through something, those things are not going to be wasted. I have been forming in you something that the world needs, and the world is going to encounter it through you. Not in some distant, theoretical future. In the actual days of your actual life that are coming. I want to end not with a summary but with an invitation. Because what I have said to you today is not meant to be information you file away. It is not a set of truths to be acknowledged and then set aside while you return to the ordinary effort of trying to hold things together. It is a living word. It is a current. And like any current, it is most powerful when you stay in it. Stay close to me. Not as a strategy for getting what you need, though I will provide what you need. Not as a technique for managing your anxiety, though my presence will bring peace. But as the simple choice of a person who has recognized that being near to me is where life actually is. Where the weight becomes bearable. Where the confusion begins to resolve. Where the voice of fear is consistently answered by a voice of greater authority. Where you are known, fully and without pretense, and loved without reservation. Come back to this. Come back to this place of being spoken over, of being reminded of who you are and what I am doing and where you are going. Not because you need to be convinced every day from scratch, but because the river needs to keep flowing. Because the word I speak over you is not a one-time statement but a continuous and living current that wants to work its way into every corner of your interior life. Every anxious thought. Every fearful projection. Every place where the old conclusions are still trying to hold their ground. You are in my hands. That is not a metaphor offered to make you feel better. It is the actual structural reality of your life. The one who holds the universe in its coherence, who sustains the systems and the seasons and the movements of things beyond counting, that one has chosen to hold you. Has chosen to be present in the specific geography of your specific story. Has decided that you are worth this level of personal, particular, sustained attention. And from that place of being held, I am saying to you what I have always said to those who belong to me, to those who have pressed through the fear and the doubt and the long nights to keep their face turned toward mine. I am saying it to you now with full knowledge of your situation and full authority over your future. Do not be afraid. The difficulty does not have the final word. I do. And my word over your life is this: you are going to make it through. You are going to come out of this. You are going to stand on the other side of what is pressing against you now, and you are going to know, not theoretically, but in the marrow of your bones, that I was with you every step of the way. That I did not leave. That I did not fail. That everything I promised, I kept. Peace is not coming for you someday. Peace is your now. Peace is your ground. Peace is the inheritance you walk in as my child, in the middle of the storm, with the wind still blowing and the waves still rising, because the one who commands the wind and the waves has spoken, and the word that has been spoken is your name. Rest in that. Receive that. Let that work in you today and tomorrow and in all the days that follow, until the season that has been hard gives way to the season I have been preparing. And you step into it, not with the relief of someone who barely survived, but with the quiet, rooted confidence of someone who walked through the fire and found that I was in it with them. You are held. You are loved. You are going forward. And that is not wishful thinking. That is the word of the Lord over your life.